Feel free to chat with us in the chat box if you want to interact with the presenter. And so excited to have Dr. Randy Nordell join us for the session today. This is Randy's second session with us when we're doing these series of webinars. Randy is a professor at business technology at American River College in California, and he has been in education for more than 30 years. So that's a long time. He's taught high school, university leads, and community college. I don't know, many of you may or may not know, but Randy is also the lead author of Microsoft Office 365, Online Course Success, and Microsoft Outlook 2010. And just before I hand over to Randy, I just want to cover a very few things just really quickly, which is this session is being recorded, so you will have the recording of the session on your email. You will also have the certificate once the webinar is completed. So hopefully by tomorrow you should have this. And I think that's about it. We want to keep this as interactive as possible. So you can ask questions. We will take them towards the end of the session. The duration of the session is 60 minutes. So, but feel free to ask questions, use the Q&A box to ask questions, and we can pick them up during the end of the session. Or if you want to use the chat box to interact with Randy, you can do that as well. And I'll stop sharing now and pass over to Randy. Thank you, Randy. I just want to thank you for your time. I know it's really early for you, but thank you so much for being here and joining us today and sharing your expertise.
You're very welcome. Thanks for all of you who are able to be here and from all over the place. So yeah, I'm early here where I'm at. I'm on the west coast of the United States in California by Sacramento, California, and I know you guys are quite a few hours away the other direction. So I'm gonna share my screen. Actually, I'm gonna turn off my video here so that's not distracting, and then share my screen and pull up my presentation there. So yeah, so we're going to talk about SIMnet specifically today, but we're going to talk about it in the context of student success and career readiness. And like Sarah said, I've been in education a long time at different levels, from the high school level to the university level, the community college level. I've been at the community college level for the past, I think, 18 years. I think I'm finishing up, it's my last week of the semester, I'm finishing up my 34th year as a teacher, professor in education. So it's great. I love it. And yeah, it's amazing. It's been that long already. But anyway, we're going to talk about student success and career readiness. And so in student success and engagement, couple things here. So the kind of some of the three main factors I look at are maintaining accountability. And that's really that interaction between student and instructor and how we interact, whether that be in a face-to-face environment, an online environment, a hybrid environment, or some combination thereof. Increasing engagement. So just trying to, that's that interaction between student and content, and figure out, how best to get students engaged in the content we're presenting them, and then finally delivering results, which really is the instructor in the content. It's our choosing the right content. It's our knowing the content and making it relevant to students. So here's kind of the way I see it, and three main here, three main components of it: the student, the instructor, and then the content. And there's just that overlapping area. At middle, where all three of them overlap, that's that student engagement. And we have relationships between student and teacher. We have the competence of the teacher and the content where that overlaps, and then the relevance of the content between the students and the content. So yeah, so let's talk about, I'm going to talk a little bit first, just kind of how some of the things that I do to help promote student engagement in my classes. And again, some of my classes are actually probably about half of them, a little more, are fully online. Some of them are hybrid in class. I don't have too many fully on-site classes anymore, but either hybrid or fully online classes. And like Suresh said, if you have any questions as we go along, I'm going to ask for some feedback also. But if you have any questions as we go along, any suggestion, anything, let me know. I'm just a small enough group here where we could be a little more informal and interactive. So with relationships with students, so student engagement, the relationships component of that. Frequent communication. Okay, so whether it's in class communicating with them, whether it's communicating them through the LMS that we use Canvas is the one I use on my campus, but just frequent communication, variety. I use videos. I use just all sorts of things. So it's not just the same all the time. And I mean there is some consistency. There is some value to that, no doubt. But I think it's easier for students to overlook my emails or messages or even videos if it's always exactly the same. So I try to mix it up a little bit and try to be very tight in my communications. Also, I don't know, a couple of years ago read a book called Smart Brevity, and it's all about just being really tight in your writing and all that. I teach business communication and business English, so it's kind of what I teach. But anyway, frequent communications, availability, remote, in person, just being available to our students to help them out if they have questions. I don't want them to be stuck and spin their wheels for hours and hours. So I really do try to make myself available through set office hours, and I make those available both on site and online. And just throughout the day, I tell my students, hey, contact me. If I'm not in class or not busy, I'll jump on a Zoom with you, or you can stop by my office, whatever, and help you out. Providing individual feedback for students. So not just having all auto-graded assignments that automatically go, get their grade and never hear back from the instructor. I'm going to show you SIMnet that does a lot of that for us. And I love auto-grade. So don't get me wrong. I like auto-graded assignments, but providing individual feedback helps student engagement. So they know I'm not just some AI chatbot that's giving them some feedback on their paper, or displaying their grade from a paper or whatever. So the other one, more frequent due dates. So rather than having assignments due once a week or every other week or a couple times a semester, I use my classes that are full-term classes. I have 2 due dates a week, and breaking them up into smaller chunks so that they don't, I don't know if your students are like mine, but a lot of them will wait till the very last minute to do it, and so if I have a whole week's worth of assignment due on Wednesday night, they're going to wait till 10 o'clock Wednesday night to start working on it. And by that time, I'm not answering email. And I tell my students, I don't answer email after 3 or 4 at the latest in the afternoon. And so anyway, but those are some of the things that I do for student engagement. And you could throw this in the chat, any other things that you do for student engagement to help engage your students. See if we have anything in chat. Anything you can think of, or you can hold it. I'm going to talk about a couple other things. Recreational activity. That's a good one, Mohammed. Yeah, absolutely. Finding something to do outside of class. That recreation, recreating, right? Is the word recreational, or recreate yourself. I'm a cyclist, so I try to get out most every day, get out on my bike and ride. That's my therapy. Yeah. So think, pair, share. I like that. Yeah. Especially in class. Yeah. To be able to do that, group assignments. Yeah. We do in my business communication, business English class, we do a lot of peer editing of writing assignments. We'll do just kind of short business letters or something, some type of communication, a positive communication or a negative communication, and then talk about the theory behind it, and then do group assignment, frequent revision. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think one of these other ones coming up is talking about that metacognition, thinking about what you're learning or thinking about. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for the feedback there and just the interaction. Let's go on to the next one here. Let's see if I can do this. So next one, student engagement. So this is kind of the relevance of it. So this is the student interacting with the content. And so some of the things that I try to do to engage students and help them to see the content as relevant and is project-based learning. So project-based learning, more robust projects, just a kind of contextual, full, robust projects where they can kind of see the realistic part of the project. So it's not just getting the homework done to get the points and check the box, so project-based learning, making them realistic, something that they can understand and are realistic, that's realistic, applying it in different contexts. So both my writing classes, but the classes where I teach Excel and a database and all of that is doing multiple projects that are different contexts, kind of same skills, but applying them in different contexts also. And then somebody had mentioned last time, reflection, thinking about what you're learning, and reflecting upon that. And every few chapters I do it in all my classes, in my business communications class, all of them, and in my Excel and Access courses, but I have them do a discussion post and talk about what they're learning. And, sometimes, hey, what are the 3 favorite things you've learned in these first few chapters? Or how would you apply these new skills, these 3 new skills that you're learning in a different context? And so thinking back on what they're learning, I think is, that whole metacognition. Any other ideas for student engagement? Those of you out here on this webinar. Well, I have a sip of coffee. And some of the ones mentioned before were brainstorming. That's a good one. Some of the ones mentioned before, the think, pair, share is another great one, because that really pulls in, especially if you're a lot of these. It's harder to do. Probably the student engagement, I think, can be harder to do in an online environment. The tools that we use, I'm going to show today with SIMnet are super helpful, but yeah, it can be a little bit harder in an online environment versus an on-site environment. And then student engagement. So just the competence of the instructor in relation to the content that's there. So I remember early on in my teaching career, I think it was even my education for getting into education, and an instructor said, hey, teach from the overflow of your knowledge. Don't just teach what you know and that's it, and stay 1 week ahead of the students, but truly teach from the overflow of what you know. Be a student in your discipline. And I think most of you, especially at the university and the college level, we are students of our discipline. We really, we engage in the content. We want to know. We want to know what's new in Excel, the X lookup and the X match and all these new functions in Excel. And so I think that's the course structure, how we structure the course, and again, all sorts of varieties, being post-COVID, fully on site to fully online to somewhere in between, the flip model, all high flex, there's all sorts of different things. Us providing the context and relevance for the students, helping them see the context in which they're applying these skills and why it's relevant, why it's important. So staying current on technologies and showing students how to use things. I use Snagit a lot for quick screenshots and even short little videos. Great program. On Zoom, I'll hop on Zoom with them and show them how to walk through things or in class. So any other ideas on any of these is student engagement things. So whether it's the competence part of it, I'll go back here, the relevance part or the relationship part, any other best practices from using those, using videos and maybe theatric key interaction. That's a good one. Yeah, that's great. And I use a lot of videos and try to keep them pretty tight. Sometimes I'll do some longer overview videos. Competition based, yeah. Every colleague of mine, and you guys may have heard him before, Frank Sorakash, he says gamify everything. Students are so used to, on their phones and in their life, everything being a game. He said gamify everything that you do, and I'm like, okay, and I that's always kind of ringing in the back of my head of how do I gamify a lot of these things that we do. So anyway. I'll kind of move on here. So SIMnet. So SIMnet is a learning and evaluation digital resource for helping students learn the Microsoft Office suite of software. So Word, Excel, Access, PowerPoint. We even have additional content in there, some Outlook, some computer concepts stuff in there also. But it really is, and it fits right into what I'm talking about with all of this this student engagement. And it really does help student engagement, and it helps. We have a lot of auto graded stuff in there, and it starts from low stakes SimBook, which kind of presents information and and helps them to see that, how to do something, and then to projects where they're actually able to apply the stuff in a robust context. So in a contextual project. So I'm going to jump out of here real quickly, and we're going to actually look at SIMnet. And so we're going to look at an Excel course here, and I'm going to show you from the student side what that looks like. And I think our next webinar, we're going to be looking at the instructor side and really how to customize it. And so let me go to Sim Student here. Look at that one. I have a bunch of demo courses, so so this is what the students see, and I'll walk you through kind of how I teach my classes in Excel and get students, and all the skills students really need to know is one of them is Excel. I mean, in pretty much whatever business they go into or wherever they're going to be working, most likely they're going to need to know Excel. They're also going to need to know Word and Outlook and some of the other ones like that, database, relational databases, all of that. But Excel's a big one. I was with a college last week and meeting with them, and they're using SIMnet for their MBA program. And one of the guys said, okay, really, they got to get out of here, and they need to know how to write well, and they need to know how to use Excel. Those are two big things that they need to know when they get out of their MBA program. And so let me just jump in here, and I'll jump into chapter 2 since it can be a little meatier here. So first thing I do is the SimBook. SimBook it's digital content one-to-one with the printed textbook. So we still do have printed textbooks for these. Kind of going away from that just because the digital platform is so good, and most of our students, I tell my students, hey, don't buy the textbook, just get the digital, get SIMnet, get the digital. You need this because a lot of your assignments are within SIMnet. But I said, if you think you'll use, try it. If you think you need the printed book after a little bit, go ahead and buy it. But most students don't. So it looks and feels just like the printed textbook. Easier to navigate around. To go from page to page this way, and we have it set up by student learning outcomes. There is a table of contents up here where they can jump around pretty easily. There's a bookmark, and they can make it bigger. They can search, they can print, they can do all sorts of things. They can even read. So this is one of the fairly new features is we can highlight all that, but it translates into a whole bunch of different languages. So I know we're from, us here in this webinar from all over the place, and a lot of different languages that it translates into. So which is kind of nice. And and just have it, yeah, have it either translated or translated in writing and audio as well. But this is a sim book, and then the sim book set up where you have our our pedagogy behind our book is what we call the TIP approach, topic instruction practice. And we know our students don't read a lot. And so we try to keep the writing really, really, really tight. I'm telling you on, this one here, building and editing functions here. So try to keep it really tight. And we have these how-tos. So the topic is the text part, what it is the students are learning, the particular skill. The instruction are the how-tos. And the how-tos, what we did in our textbook, which is unique, is we have the how-tos as standalone. They're not really embedded into a project. It's more like a reference guide. So telling them how to do a particular skill in a generic format, and lots of screenshots, really tight, concise, verb instruction, start with a verb and instructions on how to do things. And then within these how-tos are the show me, guide me, let me try. So the TIP approach, topic instruction practice, the instructions right here, and the practice is built in right here with this. And then in addition, we have a lot of other practice projects and capstone projects and exams, and I'll show you all that stuff after a while. But this is the show me guide. These are the interactive activities within the sim book. So each chapter, there's about 20, give or take, of these interactive activities, and students go through and do these. I assign the sim book like a lesson. So if it's an on-site class, an in-person class, I will have students do this before they come to class. Typically, it's due midnight before the day of the class. If it's an online class, it's the very first thing I assign. So the Let Me Try is a simulated environment, looks and feels a lot like the desktop application of Excel, and students can click around. They're not penalized for doing anything. They could even open up dialog boxes, and until I do some actionable item on this worksheet, I can look around, and that's what we all do. Sometimes I stumble around as to, okay, where was that particular thing, and range names or something. So anyway, but once I do something incorrect, then it's going to tell, oh no, you were supposed to type this, this formula here in this cell. So it gives you a hint there. And so again, really formative in nature. It's mastery learning, so students can do it as many times as they want. If they can't figure out the show me is a video that shows them how to do something. Guide me is a click path that'll tell them exactly what to do, and the let me try just tells them what to do. And there is a hint here. They can change the size. There's a few other things. And so I just assign, and you as an instructor, and we'll get into this in the next webinar, but you as an instructor could customize how you want it. Most instructors just assign the let me try and have the students do that. And so even a formula like this that you're typing, I could type my equals and type D7. I could go and I can click on D15, go scroll up here and click on D15. So it lets you do it. SIMnet's a nice thing. It lets you do it multiple ways, and that puts that in, and I can, keep going. And then put my plus, that's why. D7 plus D15 plus D19. And there we go. And then it comes up. But just know that it lets you do it multiple ways. It's not overly restricted. And we try to build that in to our simulated content. So it's not frustrating for students. As they finish, it gives them a check mark on here, and they can go on to the next one, so on and so on. So that's the sim book. Let me show you a couple other things in the simulated area while I'm in here. Is once again, we do have the read speaker here, which will read the instructions to the students. So as the student is working on this down here, having SIMnet read the instruction for them reduces that cognitive load a little bit. So they're able to focus on the worksheet and what they're looking for in the worksheet while the instruction's read to them. So that's one thing. Another thing is the device tips right here. The device tips will come up, and depending on which operating system a student's using, what type of computer, those device tips will be displayed. So Windows or Mac, if I were using a Mac, these would come up. Same thing with Chromebook or mobile. So just kind of helps students out a little bit if they don't know some of the function keys, and just gives them a few tips based on the operating system they're using. So I'll go ahead and exit out of here. So I'm still in the sim book here, and I would just continue to go on to the next one and the next one of the Let Me Tries until I finished all of them in the chapter. And so it's mastery learning, really low stakes. I have them do this first. I don't make it a huge amount of their grade, but I do give them credit for it just so they will do it. Another thing that we have in the sim books are what are called pause and practice projects. So these are about every 2 to 3 student learning outcomes. They are not auto-graded in SIMnet. The sim book is auto-graded. So as a student completes it, it'll automatically update their grade. And if you're using an LMS, it integrates smoothly with the LMS. And we'll talk about that in the next webinar, is the integration between SIMnet and an LMS. But the pause and practice projects, these are great projects for demo projects in class, or if you do a video overview of the chapter for your students, and say for an online course or a hybrid course, the pause and practice are great ones to use. And even to assign them, if you have students in class and you're able to do a project together in class, these are really good. So pause and practice are every 2 to 3 student learning outcomes. And there are typically 3 or 4 per chapter, and they all build on each other. The data files that they need are right here embedded inside the pause and practice project. They, as they get to the next one, it's going to say, hey, you need to, open the file that you just finished and continue on. And so what I do is I have students do these. If we're a hybrid class, I have them do it hybrid or on-site. I have them do it in class together with me. I give them a little mini lesson, and then we'll do it together in class. If it's an online class, I have them, if it's an online class, I have them do this after the sim book and turn it in. I have them upload the final solution file to Canvas, and I hand grade these. So yeah, that's my feedback to students. I talked about one of the student engagement things of instructor feedback on assignments, and this is where I do that. So I have one assignment per chapter where I'm giving them feedback on. And the other thing about these projects are what are called guided projects. We have 3 different levels of projects in our textbook and in SIMnet. Guided projects are the most hand-holding, very, very formative in nature, telling students what to do, how to do it, and a lot of screenshots in here and really detailed, tight instructions, and then solution files at the end, screenshots of solutions, just so they know they're on the right track. So again, really formative in nature. This would be the second thing that I tend to do in my class. So I do the sim book first, which is auto-graded in SIMnet, mastery learning. Students have to complete all the interactive activities in the sim book, the Let Me Tries. Do that first. Second thing are the pause and practice projects. I hand grade these. You don't have to. Some instructors don't. I know I work with a lot of university instructors who have huge classes, 250, 350 students or more. And sometimes they will, if they have a bunch of teaching assistants, they'll have them do the grading of these projects. If not, they'll use them as example projects or use them as a overview video. They'll do a video of walking through the skills in this. So that's the second thing, the pause and practice project. I saw something come up here. So, greetings from Morocco. Welcome. Glad you're here. So yeah, sim books, pause and practice projects. Second thing I do. So I'm going to exit out of the sim book and go on and show you some other things here. I want to reserve enough time at the end for some Q&A. But so after I do the sim book, and pause and practice projects are within the sim book, then I assign 2 SIMnet projects typically. So that's the third thing I do in for each chapter. and in my class, in the structure of my class. And notice here for the SIMnet projects, we have 3 different levels. We have guided, which are the hand-holding, very formative. Again, telling students what to do and how to do it, lots of screenshots. Independent projects are just pull back that instructional scaffolding a little bit. So more telling students what to do, but not how to do it. And then advanced projects, even more so. So pulling that instructional scaffolding back a little more, making the project a little more robust in the skills that are covered. So our whole purpose behind the textbook and SIMnet is transferability of skills, taking students from low stakes SIMbook to a little bit higher stakes pause and practice projects, to a SIMnet guided project, to independent or advanced, to capstone projects, and having students apply these skills in multiple contexts, okay, multiple times for that reinforcement, and I think that really is what helps not only engage students and not only see the relevance of the content we're doing, but really kind of internalize the skills that they're using by doing it multiple times. And so, so I'll show you, I'll pull up one of these projects. So all these SIMnet projects are auto-graded in SIMnet, and students download a start file. If there are any resource files, if there's a text file or a CSV file that students need to upload into Excel or import, just a second. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna mute myself for just a second here. Okay, I'm back. So start file here, the students will download this start file, and it's embedded with code that's unique to that user. Notice it puts my name here for one, so that helps out a little bit. And then it embeds it with code for integrity, for plagiarism. And so the file that the students download here has to be the same one that they upload. So it's going to look for that particular unique code. And we'll talk about this in the next webinar, is you as an instructor can decide how plagiarized files are handled. So if a student copies or, finds that everything's out there on the internet, so they find it and try to upload, you get to decide whether it's blocked or whether you allow that plagiarized file to be uploaded, and then it'll flag it. It'll tell you where the file came from and give you really, really detailed information. But so I download the start file, again, integrity checker. The instructions are here. SIMnet auto detects whether it's Windows or Mac environment and displays the correct instructions for that. Highlights the instructions so as students go through it, they could check it off, and it highlights the next instruction. They can read the instructions here, all of that. It's really good. We still do, even on the independent projects, provide some screenshots for them, just to make sure, because again, we're just trying to be very formative. We want these students to learn, really, really learn and internalize these skills, because they're so important as far as career readiness and having students prepared for the job that they're going to enter. So, or currently working in. I get a lot of students in my courses, being in Sacramento, which is the capital of California. I get a lot of students that work for the state that are just taking an Excel course just to learn Excel better, because they use it and live in it every day. And like all of us, when we're using, whatever application, so whatever software application, we kind of use the things we know. And so the beautiful thing about a course like this and content like this in SIMnet is it gives you a breadth of what's available in Excel, in Word, in Access, in whatever, in PowerPoint, any of the applications. And really, it's almost like a survey course. It's so broad. So anyway, students go through, they do the project, and then they upload the file. I'm going to go ahead and just upload this file so you can see what that looks like for the students. And now I didn't do anything in this file, so it's going to be wrong. If you're working on it in class, or students were working on it in class, they could save it to the SIMnet cloud. They could say, no, I'm not ready to grade it yet. I just want to save it in the SIMnet cloud and then come back to it and finish it and grade it later. But I'll go ahead and submit the file now. and it grades it automatically. The grader is amazingly accurate. We work really, really hard at, like, I got 0 because I did nothing on this, but normally I would get some things right if I did. But a really detailed information. It shows a visual over here and shows them what they got wrong. All the letters, the numbers and letters correspond to the instruction number. Hovers over, it'll tell them what they were supposed to do. We could even root down, and it gives them really detailed feedback. Gives them the instructions. It says, hey, this workbook doesn't have any named ranges in here. It's supposed to have some named ranges, and here's the X lookup. This is supposed to be an X lookup function. And anyway, so really, really good detailed feedback. Again, you as an instructor can control how much feedback they get and when they get that. If you give multiple attempts, which I do, on the guided projects, I give that detailed feedback right away, the incorrect feedback right away. When I get to the harder projects, like the independent project or an advanced project or a capstone project, I don't display that incorrect feedback, because I want them to figure out what they got wrong and why they got it wrong. Again, taking things low stakes to higher stakes to higher stakes, and really making it formative, making it relevant, making them, be resourceful, really. So anyway, projects are great. Auto-graded in SIMnet. Students get immediate feedback on this. I usually give them multiple attempts to do this and go back in and do that. So I'm going to go back to my project here, and it would show them all the previous attempts that we've had in here. There's best practices. And so SimBooks we talked about, low stakes, mastery learning, auto-graded in SIMnet. Pause and practice projects are within the SimBook. I do those, I assign those for my students. We'll either do them in class or I have them do them outside of class if it's an online class. SIMnet projects, I typically assign 2 SIMnet projects per chapter in here. And I usually assign a guided and then an independent or advanced. And then the third thing that I do is I assign a capstone project after every 3 to 4 chapters. So the first one's after chapter 4, and a capstone project would be more like an advanced project, just more robust and more skills, covers multiple chapters, and it's more that advanced independent type instructions where it doesn't tell students exactly what to do, but the capstone projects are auto-graded in SIMnet. So I use SimBooks, I use pause and practice projects, I use 2 SIMnet projects that are auto-graded. SimBooks are auto-graded. Pause and practice projects I hand grade, and then a capstone project, which is auto-graded in SIMnet. And those are every few chapters. And so I make my courses very, very project-based. I use very little simulated content, the SimBooks being the only thing. Now, with that said, we do have some other tools within SIMnet that you can use. We do have exams. We have exams, simulated question exams, which would be very much like a SimBook, where the students are in a simulated environment. It's skill by skill that they go through. And so that is that's a simulated exam question, test bank question. So true, false, multiple choice, we have those also. So you could do one or either or both, or you can combine them. You could actually have a quiz or exam. You can call it whatever you want, exam, quiz, but you could have those combined together into one. You could do it on multiple chapters. You could do it on one chapter. So exams are another thing. I don't use exams in my course just because I want them in the live desktop application of Excel or whatever Office application we're using at the time. I want them in that as much as possible, and we just kind of run out of time. So it's not that I don't like exams, but I just kind of run out of time. So a couple other things. So those are available also in SIMnet. Let me show you just a couple other things, and then I'm going to probably open it up for, I'll show you one other. We have what are called lessons. Also, you as an instructor could create a custom lesson. I did this one on lookup and pivot. So a couple of the harder things in chapters 2 and 4, the lookup functions and pivot tables. And so you could do a custom lesson and you use that as reinforcement for say before the capstone project, I want to go through and pick out some of the tougher skills that were covered in those 4 chapters, 3 or 4 chapters, and make a custom lesson just for reinforcement. You could do that also. So custom lessons are really good. And then we also have something called a sim path. And sim paths would be kind of adaptive learning, and a combination of a pre-test, which is a simulated exam, a lesson like this custom lesson here on a chapter or multiple chapters, and then a post-test. And so that's called a sim path. And so a lot of things in SIMnet. So I always tell instructors, hey, you're probably not going to use everything in SIMnet. I mean, we have so much content in here, and we have a ton. And next time we'll look at the instructor side and show you how to customize some of this stuff. But we have a ton of computer concepts stuff. If you want to, use that as part of your course, also that comes free with any license, any SIMnet license for any of the applications. We have complete books, like in this one here. The Excel book is an 11-chapter book that has just a ton of content. If you use MOS exam, the Microsoft Office Specialist, we have content that reinforces that. All of the MOS content is covered in our book. So we cover everything in MOS, but we have some MOS content in SIMnet that groups it the same way that the MOS does. And so we have all sorts of things. We have black belt exams. One last thing I'm going to leave you with is we do have what are called digital credentials for students. So students can get credentials by completing some of the things. So I'm going to go to the library here and show you. We'll do this. Look at the Excel book since we've done this. So there's, for each application, they could earn up to 4 different credentials. The first one would be completing the first 4 SimBook chapters. They would earn a white belt. And these digital credentials, students can post on their LinkedIn or other social media or put on their resume. One of the nice things I always tell instructors about digital credentials is that none of this is on you. These are all, SIMnet takes care of all of this. It's all done in the background. When they finish these first 4 chapters of the sim book and complete all the Let Me Tries, SIMnet automatically generates an email, sends it to them, says, hey, congrats, you've earned this SIMnet white belt digital credential. Here's a little video on how to find it in SIMnet and how to post it on your LinkedIn page. So really nice. When they complete all the rest of the remaining chapters, the sim books, they can earn the purple belt. After chapter 4, there's a capstone project where they work in the one that I showed you, the capstone project that I assigned. They can earn a yellow belt for that. And then after chapter 11, there's a black belt exam that they could do to earn a black belt. So for every application, they could earn up to 4 digital credentials. So this is the capstone project, that's where they would earn their yellow belt after chapter 4. And this is the black belt credential exam. I even make a practice exam for them to help them. So that's it. That digital credentialing is wonderful. Students love it. It's a way to demonstrate or show to prospective employers the skills that they've learned. And I'll probably cover that a little bit more in the next session, where I'll actually go into LinkedIn and show you what that looks like. But I did want to reserve a little bit of time and see if there's any question. I know we're at about 10 minutes to 6, and I want to be respectful of your time. You guys are finishing up your day. I'm starting my day, but yeah, I'm gonna keep sharing here, but I am gonna turn my video.
Do you have any questions? I don't see any questions in the Q&A box so far, Randy, but
Okay.
If anyone has got anything at all, this is the time. We're opening the floor for questions, please.
Absolutely. Yep. And I'm gonna pull this up here real quickly. And these are some of the, while I'm waiting for some questions to come in, see if anybody has anything, and whatever, any feel free to ask whatever questions you have. If I can answer them, I definitely will. But these are some of my my new favorites in SIMnet. Advanced projects is in the newest edition of our textbook. We have advanced projects, and again, just another level to step students up from, again, lower stakes to a little bit higher, to a little bit higher, to a little bit higher. And again, our whole goal is to make students, first of all, love these. I always think I want my students to love Excel when they leave my class, not hate it. And it really is a goal. So the read speaker and translator, really nice. Those are somewhat new features in SIMnet. The device tips that, help students distinguish if they're using a Mac or even a Chromebook. Hopefully that's not too much of an issue. I try to discourage my students from using Chromebooks just because you can't use the desktop application of the Microsoft Office apps. The new instructor interface that we'll talk about next time, starred courses, which is within that context, digital credentials I just talked about a little bit. I'll show you those. Those are on the dashboard, the instructor dashboard, as well as the integrity dashboard. So yeah, those are some of my new favorites there. I saw something come up. What is the student feedback on using SIMnet? Oh, good question, Marie. Students love it. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's so nice because on the auto-graded stuff, the detailed feedback they get is wonderful. It's immediate, it's wonderful. Again, very formative in helping students use this. I use it in multiple classes every semester. I work with professors all around the country, from university level, MBA level programs to, freshman level intro computing courses, and students really love it. Professors love it. It takes a lot of grading off your plate. You could still do some, and I encourage you to do some hand grading. I think students need to hear from us, but being able to have a bunch of assignments where they're able to do it, to apply and practice these skills in multiple contexts and multiple projects really helps, and to have some of those as auto-graded projects really helps. So we get great student feedback from SIMnet. I get great, and with my own students, I'm in the class. I'm a full-time faculty member. I'm in the classroom like you. I have the same students probably who don't read my emails and watch my videos that I help out with. And but yeah, any other questions or comments? Or
Yes, please. Any burning questions at all? Don't be shy. Don't hold back. This is your chance to really ask away.
We have resources. My email's on there. You could always email me if you ever have any questions. Our textbook series, our Office in Practice textbook series, we have a website. It's currently being updated, but what's there now? We're on the backstage of updating that. But what's there now is mostly what'll be in there. We're just giving it a little fresh paint on it, fresh coat of paint. So, but anyway, a lot of good information on there and videos and stuff. I'm on LinkedIn, so if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out and connect. And I also have a YouTube, Randy's Office on YouTube, that have videos, a lot of SIMnet videos on how to do things. I use it Excel. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's great. We are getting more and more instructors and colleges using Excel in stats classes. And a lot of accounting programs are starting to use SIMnet to teach students Excel, because instructors are finding, okay, they're getting to my second year accounting course, and they don't know Excel and even basics in Excel, because accounting stuff is fairly easy in Excel. But yeah, Excel and Megas, yeah, that's awesome for your stats course. And there's so much different statistical functions, and Excel is so robust. I mean, just the broadness. We have a couple instructors that are physics instructors that are using Excel, using SIMnet and Excel, teaching them to help with some of the data analysis and MBA programs. Anyway, it's very broad, but it really is teaching them the skills and showing them what's available in these different Office applications, and just really preparing them for the workforce and for their career, because they're going to need to know these skills. Yeah, and we're having more content come out, some of with Power Query. I don't know if you've used Power Query much, but we'll have some content in the fall for Power Query. We're going to be doing more with Power BI and Power Pivot also. Yeah, so I hope, thank you, Tahani. I hope this was helpful. SIMnet's a great platform, and yeah. And next time, what we'll be looking at is more the instructor side and how to customize this content for your course, how to build a course, how that looks. I integrate with Canvas. You may use a different LMS, but it integrates the same with different LMS, whichever ones you're using. And it really is it's a great learning and evaluation tool for that you can use in your classes. And it's a great one for students.
And that is correct. We will be building up on this session that we have done, and we're going to look into the instructor side of SIMnet. So how you can customize a SIMnet course and integrate it with your LMS, as Randy said. So we will definitely share more on that with you or on next webinar, which I think we haven't done a date, have we? We've not put down a date, but I think somewhere around June. But you will get the link to register for the next session as well. So be sure to check your inbox. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you for your time. I know it was super early for you, but you got up, and thank you for enlightening us with this talk. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Suresh, for hosting this and moderating it. And thank all of you who were able to join today. Yeah.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here today. Look out for, I know a lot of people just messaged and did say that they will not be able to attend, but would want to see the recording of the session. So this session is being recorded, and we will be sending you the recording as well, along with your certificate. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you all.